You don't have to stop caring about people. You don't have to be less empathetic. You don't have to become selfish and stop helping. But you may need to stop using other people's well-being as the measure of whether you are allowed to feel good about yourself. If you spent your lifetime like me, being the person who notices, anticipates, helps, fixes, supports, and takes care of everyone else, there might be a reason you are good at it. And that reason may have very little to do with being a caring person. For me, it was connected to safety. And eventually, that caring, for me, became a way of abandoning myself. I'm going to walk you through how hypervigilance, empathy, and rescuing can create the pattern, this pattern, and why you don't actually have to give up your caring nature to get yourself back. I'm going to give up. I'm going to walk you through how hypervigilance, empathy, and rescuing can create this pattern, and why you don't actually have to give up your caring nature to get yourself back. Looking back, I can see this wasn't one decision I made. It was a series of adaptations. I was just a kid trying to feel safe. I learned to monitor the environment, to pay attention to people, to understand how they were thinking and feeling. I learned to respond to what they needed. Those behaviors then got reinforced in me, and eventually they became part of my identity. What started as protection became a way for me to relate to myself and other people. What protected me as a kid eventually became the way I abandoned myself as an adult. If you can walk in the room and immediately know who's upset, who's anxious, whether something feels off, that sensitivity might not just be empathy, it might be hypervigilance. I love to cook pizza, but when I do, the fire alarms pretty much go off every time. Not because there's smoke and I'm burning something, but because the oven gets so hot to cook a pizza that the fire alarms just go off. As a kid, I had this really sensitive inner emotional smoke detector. It learned to detect anger, tension, anxiety, fear. I could sense when my parents were stressed, overwhelmed. I could tell when people were carrying something heavy. It was my internal smoke detector that kept saying something is happening here. But it wasn't saying something is happening. It was started saying something is happening and I need to figure out what it is and what I can do about it, because I don't feel safe. And if maybe I can respond to this in a certain way, then maybe I can change it, and then maybe I could feel safe. As kids, we don't have the brain development to notice something and realize that it's not ours to take care of. As a kid, we're looking for safety and security. We don't have the capacity to always step outside and objectively look at our circumstances and assess the situation. Our brain just learns what seems to work. But as adults, we get to recognize this pattern. We can notice when someone's emotions are sort of automatically affecting us. We can notice when someone's emotions are not our responsibility to take care of. We can be present to those emotions, but we don't have to do anything about it. That's the difference between kids versus adults and what creates this pattern of hypervigilance. And the really cool part is when we can understand this, we can actually be more present to people. Instead of sitting with someone and constantly scanning for danger, constantly scanning for the fire going off, I am able to sit with someone and be present to them. When I'm being hypervigilant, I lose myself. I abandon myself in the face of their challenge, in the face of their conflict. And essentially what I'm telling to them is your stuff is too overwhelming for me that I completely cannot handle it and I lose myself in it. Versus when I can stay grounded and I can then stay compassionate and empathetic to them, not be hypervigilant, then I actually model to them and I tell them, you have what it takes. I won't lose myself and abandon myself in the face of your challenge. I'll be here with you, which then tells them, you can handle this. You don't have to abandon yourself either. You've got what it takes. So when you're facing hypervigilance, face it every day. It's a constant work in my life. One of the practices is just notice something without acting. That helps me. I notice something is happening. My brain is already starting to say, be hypervigilant. You might need to take care of something here. But the practice is pausing and telling myself, you don't have to fix anything. It's not your responsibility. So what I want to do in these moments is pause and ask myself, is there really something here that I need to respond to right now? Or is my responding just due to my nervous system being dysregulated? For me, is it me just not feeling safe in this room? I just need to take a breath. I need to let the other person have their emotional experience, their inner world experience. And the goal is not to ignore them, it's just to teach me that my nervous system is okay. And I don't need to be hypervigilant about what's going on for them. And once you're good at constantly scanning other people, the next skill that develops is empathy. You get really good at understanding them. And if you're really good at understanding people's feelings and their thoughts and their perspectives, but you struggle to know what your own thoughts, perspectives, feelings are, or you struggle expressing those, that's maybe when empathy has caused you to now start abandoning yourself. Think about a chameleon. A chameleon changes its colors based on the environment it's in. I could walk into any room and begin to develop an understanding of how people are feeling. What are people thinking? What are their perspectives? And that's actually a really beautiful thing. I really like the fact that I can be very empathetic, that I can take on people's perspective and ideas. But I was not only doing that, and I still continue to struggle doing that, but there was a big part of me that became their reality. I not only was understanding it, but I was becoming it. Their fear became my fear. Their beliefs became my beliefs. Their feelings became my feelings, because somewhere along the way, my nervous system had learned that if I can adapt to you, then I'll be safe with you. And eventually I had to ask myself, what do I think? What do I feel? What do I believe? What do I actually want? Empathy is an ability to step into someone's reality and understand their thinking, their thoughts, their feelings. It doesn't mean you have to agree with them. It just means you understand that. And it's not a bad thing, right? It's actually a strength. The problem comes when the other person's feelings, beliefs, perspectives become your own, and you're not able to differentiate your own, or you're not able to speak up about your own. I constantly do this. This is a constant struggle that I have to be aware of. And I have to constantly be working on this, that I can understand how someone is feeling without feeling that myself. I can understand why someone is believing something without losing myself and my own beliefs. I can understand why someone might be afraid without me becoming afraid. So this is a really tough skill. But empathy doesn't require us to abandon ourselves. It doesn't require us to just disappear. Healthy empathy really can be a beautiful gift we give people, because we can understand what's going on for them. We can give them the space to explain themselves, to share, to be seen. And we can do that with empathy in a very non-judgmental, very loving, accepting way. Again, not agreeing, but just letting them know you're a human. Yes, I see all of the humanness of who you are. I see all the beauty. I see all the pain. I see all the challenges. Empathy really allows us to make that connection with someone. But we don't want to disappear as we practice that skill. So some of the things that are helpful at practice is just noticing when empathy becomes a self-abandonment. I do that, and the way I like to pay attention to this is I have to understand that it's possible to hold two realities. That I can have mine and you can have yours. That what's true for you can be true for you, and what's true for me can be true for me. It's very hard from where I come from, my background. But that is what is true, is that you can have your own experience with something and I can have my own experience with something. And I don't have to make a choice between the two. It doesn't have to be my way or your way. It can be both. And I can understand why you're angry and I don't have to take on your anger. I can understand why you're disappointed and I don't also have to be disappointed. And so I can enter into your reality without abandoning myself. And that's the powerful thing empathy allows us to do. And when you're constantly good at detecting everyone's emotional fires and you're incredibly good at understanding what everyone needs, there's a very natural next step. You start trying to put out people's fires. As a kid, I was constantly looking for fires, emotional fires. The fires were anxiety, conflict, fear, the big emotions in my environment that dysregulated me. I was constantly looking, how can I put those fires out? As I got older, the fires expanded. Someone anxious, fire. Someone depressed, fire. Someone's feeling overwhelmed, fire. Someone's feeling behind on work, fire. Let me jump in, fire. Someone didn't feel worthy, fire. So my automatic question became, how do I put this out? How can I make them feel better? What can I take off their plate to put this fire out? What can I do to make the anxiety go away? I was constantly running around trying to put out people's fires. And I felt something internally when I did this. When I did it as a kid, I got rewarded. I got praised. I felt something good. I felt accomplished. I felt valuable. I felt like I had a purpose. That obviously ran into adulthood, where it still triggered those feelings. Like, this is my worth, my value is dependent upon how many fires I can put out. It became part of who I believed I was. I believed the point of my life was being a metaphorical, emotional, internal firefighter, putting out, taking care of people's fires. But it wasn't working. And here's the thing, is that your worth and your value don't depend upon how many fires you put out. Again, I'm on this journey of life as a human with you, and every day this is one of those things that I'm constantly paying attention to. That my worth and my value don't come from putting out everyone else's fires. I can be with people. So instead of becoming a firefighter, I can realize that I can be more like the chief of the fire department. I don't have to be at every fire that's going on in the city. That I can sit back and I can pay attention to the fire you have going on. I can be present, I can encourage you, I can offer you advice if that's something that you're wanting, but I don't have to go in and try to rescue you and take the opportunity you have to learn and grow and expand through the fire you're facing. If I constantly run in and take people out of those things, then they don't get the opportunity to see that they actually have what it takes to face the challenges that they have in life. And there's another problem. I have my own fires, and I have neglected those for years. I have my own purpose, my own gifts, my own things I want to do in this world. And if I'm constantly running around trying to put out everyone else's fires, I'm just neglecting the inferno that's burning in me. I'm being consumed by a fire that will take me down as well. And so it's important to realize that you have dreams, aspirations, gifts, talents that need to be out there in the world. And if you're running around putting out everyone else's fire, eventually those things are going to be raging within you. You're going to want to get those things done. And you will have neglected those things. So if I can boil this down, I'm thinking an important thing to remember is I'm here with you. I believe you can do this. That's a really supportive thing to remind yourself when you're sitting with someone. Saving someone is, I'll take this from you and I will do this for you. I'll make this okay. My job isn't to put out everyone's fires. It's to stay connected to myself while trusting that you and other people are able to put out your own fires. And I think that's the practice, the takeaway flows well off of that. It's like, practice just letting people have their fires. Don't jump in and try to rescue them. Be present with them as they face their challenges, as they face their conflict, as they go after their dreams. Be with them in it, but don't try to take them out of that. And a good way to do this is just to simply ask questions. Ask them about their situation. Ask them about what's going on. But don't jump in and say, what can I do for you? Clearly there are fires in life where we actually have to jump in and help people. There are actual things, practical things we can do. A loved one has someone pass on. But there's practical things we can do. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those emotional fires, those inner world fires, those things that we take on that we don't have to be taking on. And so what we want to do is just say, is this actually my problem to solve? If I jump in and try to solve this problem, how is this possibly hurting this other person? How is this taking away an opportunity for them? We want to be great captains of the fire department, chiefs of the fire department, to look back and help encourage, help them see you've got what it takes to put this fire out. So the problem isn't that we're caring. We want to be caring. I don't want to take away that from you, for myself. I want to be caring. I want to be empathetic. I want to be in life with people. I want to be compassionate. That's not what this is about. It's not erasing our ability to be caring. The world needs that. The world needs you to be caring. What it doesn't need is for our worth to be dependent upon how much are we giving, how much are we fixing, how many fires are we putting out, how hyper-vigilant are we when we enter a room. The world doesn't need those things. Our identity, our value, our worth to be built on those things. Hypervigilance, empathy, rescuing. Those should just be the natural outflowing of who we are, because we know who we are, we're grounded in who we are, we love who we are, and we can then choose to give because we want to give. We can choose to help because then we want to help. We can choose to support without needing someone to validate our value. It can naturally flow from a grounded place. And we can have needs as well. So taking up space doesn't mean taking something away from someone else. The goal isn't to care less. It's to care without leaving ourselves behind. It's to care without abandoning ourselves. And so maybe you've learned that being good, being useful, maybe you learned that being safe meant being small. Maybe you've learned that love meant you had to do all these things for others. Maybe it meant that you had to give and fix. But you don't. Your worth, your value isn't dependent upon that. You can support people without rescuing them. You can be in a room and be fully you without being hyper vigilant about how everyone else is feeling. You can have needs, you can take up space. You can let other people have their own experience. And you can still be deeply, deeply caring. Maybe the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for the people you care about is stop abandoning yourself in order to take care of them.